Welcome to a special edition of the Post News. I'm Dominica Brella.
And I'm Dominica Brilla. We're here tonight because word has just come down that the Hot Club will have a special competition concert tonight. The winner will supposedly have the opportunity to play with gypsy jazz guitarist Django Reinhardt. The only problem is he seems to have gone missing.
We have Chloe Cummins on scene at the Hot Club with the owner, Charles Delaney, to ask the question that seems to be on everyone's mind. Where's Django?
There's Django. There's Django.
Where's Django? Where's Django?
There is Django. There's Django!
But some say Django is missing.
Well, it is true we do not currently know where he is, but it's not unlike him to miss his gigs. He's a gambler, as you well know, and he sometimes gets caught up with playing in the Gypsy Caravan.
There are rumors that Django has also tried to flee across the border, though.
All I can tell you is that we are trying our best to find him. We feel that this show is very important to us.
Can you tell me about it?
Radio Perry is supposed to broadcast the show live. The winner will get to play with Django Reinhardt live on the air. The German propaganda department has given French jazz official sanction to broadcast the show. The world is falling apart, but this is where it's at. Swing is popular in Paris.
Best of luck finding Django and with your concert tomorrow night.
Thank you.
Well, it seems that everyone who's anyone is looking for Django. I'm sure that singing sensation Elise Flaubert hopes that he can be found before the concert tonight. Chloe is with her now.
So, the Hot Club concert is tomorrow night. You will be performing. Is this correct?
Yes. A German officer came into my uncle's record shop, heard me sing, and asked me to perform.
A German officer, huh? It seems that the Hot Club has a special patron. Do you find this interesting?
I think the Hot Club is an oasis from the war, and swing is a wonderful diversion for many things.
So, you are a frequent guest at the club?
I have been there a few times to see shows before the war. I live in Nice. I'm just here helping out my uncle. It is a wonderful place. I hope that someday we'll hear Duke Ellington and Louis Armstrong play there again.
Those are brave words in a Paris occupied by Germans. Aren't you afraid?
This war cannot last forever. I think it will end sooner than we think. Swing music and dancing transcends national divides. Many of the German officers come to the club now. Maybe after the war we will appreciate all these great musicians again.
Those were some pretty strong words about swing and the Americans. I wonder if she knows something that we don't. Meantime, while all of this is going on with Hot Club, Chloe, ordinary Parisians are trying to make the best and hoping for a return to normalcy. Chloe recently interviewed the owner of a popular cafe.
We are here with the owner of Café Au Revoir, who is managing to stay open and keep a rosy outlook despite all the chaos going on around him. How are you coping with the rationing of supplies?
Well, we have no coffee and no tea. Not much of anything, really. But what we do have is the beauty of the boulevards and the sound of music in them.
Some would say that it's hard to laugh with the bombs.
Ah, why? Even in the darkest of times, Paris is still a city of light.
Light, but there is a blackout every night.
There is light that cannot black out. Nations may be battling nations, but somehow she is above it all. An oasis of beauty. Even her occupiers can't help but having a good time. Everyone wants an old Paris, they say.
You have a daughter, don't you?
Ah, Selina, she's as sweet as ever, enjoying the romance and adventure of life. Ah, Perry, it is for the young. Don't you wish you could go back and live those days again?
Really? We have had reports that she is involved in a band of maquis.
My Selina? No. She works for an instrument dealer. She delivers violins to those in Paris, out in the country. Innocence in a time of war.
Violins? If you say so, sir. I'm sure the musicians in the country could use more violins.
Yes, and my Selina will bring them.
You heard it here. She'll bring them. Now back to you in the studio.
It sounds like Chloe didn't really believe Selena is delivering violins, but I certainly believe everyone could use a violin during this time of war.
Breaking news has just come across the wire. It seems that a daring band of code breakers are threatening to strike. Chloe is standing with one of them right now.
Really? How is she getting to those places so quickly?
And changing outfits. Chloe?
I understand that the Codebreakers as a group are unhappy with their working conditions.
Yes, we listen all day to this nonsense. We uncover the British secrets. We are the key to German success. Yet what do we get for our troubles? We get threatened that we will be put on a plate and fed to the dog like sausage.
Have you decoded anything very important?
Well, yes. Between you and me, we have decoded a message about Agent Django.
Agent Django? Django Reinhardt?
No one knows. All I can say is that he is missing. Very suspicious, no? Well, that is all I can say. I must go.
I'm not sure, but I think we may have uncovered a secret here. Now back to you in the studio.
I want to get down to the club to see if Django plays. That's all for now. This has been a special edition of the Post News.
The Riverside Center for Imaginative Learning recently put on its 4th original musical, Where's Django? From the newscast you just watched, you can see that it is set in Paris in the 1940s. I play Hans, an angry German officer who is fed up with propaganda and wants to get down to the business of winning. During the show, the war rages, kids swing dance, spies slink, and friendship is tested as everyone who's anyone is trying to find gypsy jazz great Django Reinhardt. They want him for the concert at the Hot Club, but there's also a chance he's involved with a secret plot that could affect the outcome of the war. There's a lot that goes into producing a musical of this scale, so we have with us Peter Serby, who wrote the script and directed the show, and Dan Gennaro, assistant director, to tell us all about the process. Mr. Serby, how do you come up with such amazing storylines every year?
You start thinking of times, and so Ireland was one, and I said, well, what would be a cool one? And I thought of the hedge school, and then the bards, of course, are big in Ireland. So I asked the question, well, wouldn't it be cool if the bards were connected to the hedge school? And then there was some connection. And the same thing happened with Django. I asked the question, wouldn't it be neat if one of my favorite styles of music, gypsy jazz, was connected to the French resistance, to the underground during World War II? And I started researching a bit. I looked up the owner of the Hot Club of France, Charles Delaunay, and I looked up his friend who worked at the Hot Club, who was a German officer.
Which is pretty cool, historically, that was true.
It was true. Now, I embellished some aspects of it, but it was true that there was a special operations mission involved with the Hot Club of France, that the Gestapo did bash down the doors on October 1943 and put several of them in jail. And there was a moment where Django Reinhardt was put in prison when he was trying to escape to Switzerland. So all of this was true, and then the rest of it took on a life of its own. The Roma, what were happening to the Jews during this time, and how could I work that in? The Maquis, the underground. So all of a sudden you start trying to figure out, well, how do these things piece together? The Hot Club, the Resistance, the Roma, Django's escape. And that's how storylines start coming about. A little bit of research, a little bit of your own knowledge, and then you hopefully let Providence do a lot of the work as well with how characters and story develops.
And so what about your songs? Those must take just as much brainpower.
I feel like in my imagination there's a home for lost songs. So for instance, there's a song in Where's Django called Everyone Wants in Paris. I wrote that song 15 years ago. Just the melody was in my head. I loved the song. It wasn't a waltz back then. And I kept asking myself in several musicals, could that fit in? And it couldn't. And then one day, there was a Paris cafe scene in this show, and I started listening. I said, oh, that could be a waltz. And then I started listening. All of a sudden, that song found a home. So there are certain songs that are just wandering up here that find a home later. And then other ones which, what I do is that I just put on music like Spotify in my car while I'm driving everywhere. And I listen to the genre, whether it be Irish, gypsy jazz, whatever it might be, over and over for months. And then I start taking notes on ideas from songs I like and start gathering that together. And then I play ukulele while I'm driving. So I hope any police officers are not watching this newscast, because I do that at times. Well, I do try to do it when I'm parked at a red light. People give me strange looks.
That's the usual.
Well, people who have seen the shows comment on how good your casting is. What are you looking for when you're matching the actor or actress to their role?
We were commenting before on, we love to see actors who bring something to a role that may not even be written in the role. And it may not be in a line, it could just be in a look or part of a crowd scene, but they stand out as somebody who's really supporting the action. They're committed to their role and the atmosphere of that particular scene. Mm-hmm. There are many notable actors in this past musical who did that. I think Luke Dorn, I think Lily Hipskind, both did that in their ways. But I could go on and on. There were a lot of actors that Lucy Jansen's another one, in smaller roles as measured by lines, they really filled a scene out and made the scene so much better because of what they brought to the part. So I love to see that. And, sometimes you have to cast very, very talented actors in what might be seen as smaller roles because you know that they will bring something to that role that nobody else can bring to it, and they'll make that role come alive. Mm-hmm.
So this next question is for both of you. What would you say the most enjoyable part of putting together a musical is, and what's the most difficult?
One of the most enjoyable parts for me is the writing process. I think seeing a script come to life, what seems to be at first just random ideas, characters, and characters sometimes just arrive in a scene. I think those kind of moments when you're writing, when you discover a new character, or all of a sudden the story suddenly goes this way or that way without you trying. It just happens. So that's really satisfying when you're writing a show. But it's also incredibly, just to answer your other question, it's incredibly challenging too, because you're pulling your hair out very late nights, realizing that this scene shouldn't be here, you should put it there, and all sorts of
a lot of things to keep track of in a script when you're writing it.
Right.
So it's like a pretty complicated juggling act in some ways. Really bring a great laugh to the audience, what have you. Like, for instance, Teddy had to be very reactive when he's breaking the records because we couldn't plan whether a record would break or not. And so we came up with a couple different things that Teddy could do. So if it does break, obviously he can throw the pieces down. If it doesn't break, and this happened, I think, the second show, and it was actually even funnier. It didn't break, and he threw it down and then jumped on and stamped on, and coming up with moments that seem honest and sincere and improvised, but are also have been talked through. Like Teddy walking into the wall. Got a solid laugh every show. That's a testament to Teddy's acting, that he's in the moment. But those kind of crafting those little individual moments is a lot of fun. But the most challenging thing, there are always times when you're kind of at your wit's end, when something's not coming together. For me, that happened with the choreography of the Jewish scene. That was something that just wasn't working for me, and I kept going up dead ends, and then the nice thing about these shows is you rely on each other. So Mr. Serby kind of came in there and helped me out, and sometimes I'll have ideas when things are not working for staging or what have you, and we can rely on each other depending on each other's skills too.
Like that last scene. The last scene of the show was very difficult to stage. Right. And I don't think it would have worked unless we had a lot of conversations about it and just thought about where to put people.
Right. And so moving the table up, for instance, was one choice. Or getting rid of the bar was another, and making the so little choices like that end up having huge consequences.
Right.
As far as how a scene works.
Right.
And then they also create problems that you have to kind of solve, which is fun. I mean, it's part of the fun. The challenge is part of the fun, but yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to talk with us today. Throughout Where's Django, we also took the time to talk to some of the actors and actresses about their experience. Take a look.
So you have kind of the heroic German role. How does that feel?
Well, in most of the other plays, I've been playing the evil German role, so it's different, but with good coaching by the tutors, it's getting better. So I like it.
I wouldn't say I'm nice, but I'm not mean. So I think it's a good change of character.
Do you get very nervous, and how do you deal with it?
It's an open air, it's always the most nervous for me. Because of just how much can go wrong. You think through it before you start. And I deal with it, I pretty much just get out in the scene, and once I get one or two scenes done, the nerves start to go down. And in the second play, the nerves are back, but they're not as intense.
We're not important. We are humble code breakers.
You're very important.
Are you serious? The most difficult thing about costuming is probably the costume changes. So having the kids go from one character to another character.
They have a dog that's a puppet that needed to be held in a way you couldn't see that it was being manipulated. I took a coat and modified it so there was a fake arm on the outside, so it would hold the puppet, and then her actual arm came out the side, and then you could actually move the puppet where you wouldn't know necessarily that there was.
Kind of just we're given instructions, and then we try to make it happen, and then we ask the director, and then if they have some changes, and we make it.
Yeah, like that. He had a couple ideas, so I modified it a little bit to make the arm a little stiffer and a couple other things.
But the shows seem to be getting bigger, so I think it's been easier just having more people come in. So if I find out they have some skills, I'll say, "Oh, would you like to help?" And so it's been really fruitful. Also, what's a great thing about costuming is I've been able to bring in a lot of the Riverside girls to help. I think in all the shows, I've had several girls help, so it's good for them to learn some skills with sewing or embroidery or anything like that. So that's been really fruitful, and it's a joy. I really enjoy working with the kids, and they get really excited about their costumes, and so that's kind of fun also. Then I get really excited, and then it's all worth it at the end of the day.
Are you learning anything on that?
Well, I've been watching some videos of Benny Goodman and watching him play so I can figure out his stance.
What'd you pick up? Show us a little.
Well, you keep it really tight. It's not very big and open. You tight, and if he gets really into something really crazy, he doesn't go up. He goes back like that and does that. So I actually have to watch videos of him and learn how to look like him when I'm playing, because at one point someone else does say that I play like him. So.
Very loud.
Yeah. Well, that's not even a surprise.
Why?
Because I'm loud.
Says who?
Says everyone.
So you're typecast.
Exactly.
Was? Wie genau wird es happen? Klaus, wir just tried to go.
What's your favorite part about being in musicals?
I think it's good to see all the kids together and doing one thing, and having one goal set for them is to have a great play and for everyone to enjoy themselves while watching.
Hey, no, Robbie's Django. Seamus, are you doing anything in the scene?